My name is Newton Tetwa from African Mining Brief. Welcome to African Mining Brief Online. Today we are pleased to have Imraan Lambart, the application engineer at Autodesk. We are looking at how technologies or the current technologies has improved the way mining is being done today. He's going to share with us the impact and opportunities that the 3D design is bringing to the mining industry, its capabilities going forward. We are going to look at also Autodesk cloud technologies, how they are changing the face of the plant design, as well as looking at the case studies, looking at how the mines have utilized the AutoCAD Plant 3D software, as well as the benefits that they've reaped from these technologies.
Firstly, generically in the past, in the mining industry, what happened was customers were literally more used to using 2D systems, and what the 2D systems allowed them to do is convey a message to people, from getting an idea in their mind to people who are going to be running the facilities of that. But it was mainly done on paper, 2D. And what the challenges were faced was that, A, because of the skill set inside of Africa, is that a lot of people never could read or understand those 2D drawings correctly. So what that enabled or created was that people were battling to read it, and they weren't interpreting it correctly. So you have on-site, when it's construction going on, or people having difficulty to understand. So if you're doing pre-feasibility, because people weren't understanding it properly, you might find projects take longer to get approved in it. What we've seen over the last 5 to 10 years is a shift from a 2D to more of a 3D based, purely because of the first benefit is everybody can look at something in 3D and it looks like a picture. They can understand what is expected of them or what is being proposed to them. The other benefits that it allowed people to do is it allowed them to start interpreting your design facilities a lot more easier. So you can see, as a structural engineer, having input into the mining environment, where is my structures going to go in context with my conveyor belts, in context with my mechanical equipment like my pins and my feeders or my vibrating screens and that allowed different disciplines to start collaborating on your designs a lot more easier. And the net benefit to companies was that they were able to see increase in the efficiencies, in their turnaround time of approvals, and that because now people can understand it better, the approval cycle is a lot quicker. Not only is that, the smaller benefits was that those 3D models have, over the last 4 or 5 years, have evolved to have more intelligence attached to it. And what we mean by more intelligence, it knows, for example, in a mine or in a process plant, if it's a gas line, it knows what's the line number, but this is on the software side. Whereas in the past, it was on a piece of paper, or somebody on site had a tag physically attached to that line saying this is a line number and so on. Now people are starting to think about that in the creation phase, and they're starting to document it. The nice thing about that is that 10 years down the line, if anybody picks up that 3D model, they still got the intelligence attached to it, so they can do for maintenance. Before you go to site, you exactly know what type of tools you need to take with you, what environment you're going to be receiving on site for maintenance purposes. So those are some of the benefits. We've seen customers that are using our 3D solution where they've actually started seeing increase in productivity, where some of their productivities have increased by between 25 and 30% over just using conventional 2D computer-aided design packages. And on a 3D side, we're seeing faster turnaround times on projects approvals and also buy-in into that project. From a cloud technology, have got different solutions that are available to customers in the different industries. So if we're looking specifically at the mining industry, you've got people supplying the mining industry with equipment, they can start doing optimization of their designs in the cloud. So in the past, what happened is people would need to secure a machine to run for a day or two to do the optimization, or most of the optimization was done manually calculated. An example of optimization would be if I'm designing a vessel, a storage tank, or even a vibrating screen. I would conventionally say, because my company has been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years, we used a certain thickness of steel, and we continue using the same thickness. But because of the times that we are in, where every company is looking for cost cutting and being more innovative, they need to go back to the drawing board and see, can I still keep my design the same, but get away with using thinner material that's still strong enough to give me the quality? And a lot of that time is done by the R&D departments. And because we are so rushed in the environment of work, we find people are not doing it. So they're still fabricating with the old methodology of, if we used 8mm plate, we continue using 8mm plate. But you might find, just by changing the grade of steel, you could get away with using 6mm plate. For the same thing, your quality doesn't get jeopardized, but you're saving on transportation costs, you're saving on the cost per kilogram of steel. And those are the things that you can now take your design, your 3D model, upload it to the cloud, and what it allows you then to do is run your, assign your parameters. You can continue working on your desktop while the cloud is busy calculating it. And because you're running it in the cloud, you've got access to infinite computing speed. So you're not restricted to having a machine running for a day before you get a result. It's now, multi-coring in the cloud, and it's giving it to you. That's one example. Other examples of cloud solutions that Autodesk does offer is for architects, for example. You can do energy analysis on your design. So if I've designed this building, as a owner, I can initially, or as an architect to your brief, I could have designed the building, but now I can say, if we're using a certain type of material for glass, and if we had to situate this building in Johannesburg, if it's in summer at 12 o'clock, what is the heat going to do to this room? What is the analysis of the environment going to do to this room? In winter, will it be able to retain the heat? And in summer, will it be able to retain the coolness? All of that. At the moment, companies that haven't adopted 3D technology or the advancement of 3D are still doing those as what ifs or scenario play. But now you can upload it to the cloud computes it for you, and within hours, sometimes within half a day, you actually get the result back saying this is what the study is going to be, and it gives you it generates a report. Over the last 6 months, we've seen Autodesk going more and more into cloud, in a sense of they're allowing customers to start doing machining in the cloud. So you might have heard of CAM software to do computer-aided machining. All along, it's always been you needed it on your desktop. Autodesk is the first company to offer it in the cloud for customers, so that I can design the 3D model without having to buy an expensive piece of software. I can upload it to the cloud and do it there. We're finding Autodesk is taking some of their desktop products and moving it to the cloud, where if I want to design a 3D model but I don't have the tools, they've got tools in the cloud allowing you to design that items. And from the cloud, it allows you to enter into a market of your mobile apps, your mobile devices. And what we're finding is on your Android systems, on your iOS systems, you're finding a lot of the Autodesk tools coming through. And what that enables Autodesk to offer to their customers is capabilities that when I'm in the field or when I'm away from my physical PC, I've still got access. It might be limited, but it's still got access to the tools to allow me to do my job better, right? And with that, we're seeing more and more where Autodesk is starting over the last year and a half. They're spending more and more time into the virtual reality side. So what that means is, we're seeing a big uptake in South Africa on 3D scanning. So, facilities, you might have a plant or a mine, that you never had drawings for. Instead of getting a contractor out on site to spend 3 weeks to physically walk the mine with a measuring tape and a paper and pen to mark it up, to come back and give it to you so that you can capture it. They're taking 3D scanners, dropping it in, and letting it scan a certain environment with specific parameters, and at the end of that day or end of the 2 days, you've got the exact same item as both in point cloud data. And once that's in point cloud data, you can take it to the cloud and actually manipulate the data the way you want it. Autodesk has also taken out new technology which allows customers to take photographs, upload it to the cloud, and the cloud generates a 3D model of that photograph. You need a minimum of 4 photographs, but more you get a more clearer 3D model. But literally what that means is, if I wanted a 3D model of a person, I don't need to now measure them up and try to get the 3D software to generate it, or try to generate it in the 3D software. I can take multiple shots of that individual, of that object, upload it to the cloud, and while I'm traveling, the cloud is busy creating a 3D model. Once the 3D model is ready, you get notified. You then go up and you download it. As simple as that. So that's what cloud, and again we can talk on cloud for long periods at end, but that's just to give you a gist of to what's currently available or where technology is going with the cloud functionality. There's quite a number of them, it's just trying to choose which one, but the one that sticks out in my mind is we did one with Bateman Material Handlings. Previously it was just Bateman, now it's called Tenova Bateman, and they, being an EPC house, they were always providing customers with solutions, and their motto was always to get their designs out faster with high quality, right? And all along in the past they've always used AutoCAD as their base for their 2D designs, but sometimes customers determined what software they use. So they were a company that had multi-vendor softwares, and around 3-4 years ago they were looking to standardize where they could provide a high-level deliverable to their customers on a technology that they are comfortable with. And at that point they looked into the Autodesk Plant 3D software, and they actually found that because it was based on the AutoCAD platform, their users were familiar with it, and overall they implemented it on one of their projects for a floating plant, a flotation plant, and it was up in Limpopo, I think so. And what they found was that they were able to give their pre-feasibility phase earlier to the customer. So typically, as you know, with the mining industry, nobody just jumps into a project and starts working. They do a pre-feasibility first to see, is it worth it, is it not, is it going to make sense to everyone. From there, once they get the go-ahead, they then go into proper engineering work. In the past, Bateman's approach to pre-feasibilities was always on a 2D platform, and when they got this project, they decided to test it on the Plant 3D solution, purely because it allowed them not just to have a 3D model and to communicate with the customer in a 3D model, but it allowed them to have intelligence attached to it. So from the PNIDs and PFDs, they were able to have as much information onto that PFD that when they go into engineering, they can reuse it. Because again, in the past, what you always encountered was people would do a pre-feasibility study, and the amount of work that they put into the pre-feasibility could never be used later on when they go into the real engineering. They had to recreate it. And by them using the Plant 3D, they were able to shorten that cycle, because once they did the pre-feasibility, they were within their time frame. In fact, they were slightly earlier than the expected deliverable date, and they impressed the customer in a sense of they never just delivered a 2D drawing to the customer. They actually gave 3D models with intelligence, and they even were able to take the customer on a virtual tour of their pre-feasibility of the flotation plant before they even broke ground. So those are some of the benefits. I mean, the efficiencies that they seen was quicker turnaround, better understanding, better quality of design coming out with a lot of more rich information attached to that design. So those were some of the benefits. we can share after this interview. I'll share the case study with you, and you can actually hear from the customer, or in customers' words, what are some of the benefits that they see. We've got quite a number of engineering procurement EPC companies that are using our technology, and again you'll find some of them are solely an Autodesk base, while others might have a combination of Autodesk and other software vendors in there. It purely depends on what their goal is and what their mission statement to their customers is. Before you approach any vendor to find a solution, right, you need to be clear on to what your deliverables, what type of deliverables you want to give. Because I could give you a 2D drawing, which is a deliverable, but I could give you a 3D model and a 2D drawing with intelligence attached to it, and that's also a deliverable. So you need to define internally what internal processes as to what is the level of deliverables we would like to our customers to receive from us. Once you've got that, they need to look at what's the skill sets out there, because a big thing on where impacts customers is availability to the skill sets. Because with any company, you can change from one vendor to another, but you will always have a productivity drop, or if you had to look at the productivity curve, there's always a drop. And when you're looking at vendors for solutions, is to be clear as to what's your requirements from them, your objectives, your outcomes that you want, but also to see how is that path of a software vendor going to impact my internal staff members. Because you sometimes find you might have people that are familiar with one technology, and when they need to change across to another vendor, there's a lot of changes, and disruption is not good. And people don't like disruption, so those are things that they could think about. But ultimately, as a company, if you're looking to improve your efficiencies, improve your productivity, keep your reliability with regards to quality that you can output, then you need to look at a vendor that knows the industry, that understands the industry, and also allows you to collaborate with other industries. Because what we shouldn't kid ourselves or shy away from is that even though you've got a manufacturing industry, you've got a mining industry, you've got a building industry, sooner or later those paths start crossing and the lines become very blurred. So it's a multidisciplinary environment, especially in the mining industry. What we find is you'll never find a mine being put up without input from a structural engineer, input from a civil engineer, input from an architect, because if you're going to site, you might need an office, you might need living quarters. Who's determining that? So you need to, when you're looking at vendors, look at vendors that understand not only the industry you are in, but also the adjacent industries that would impact your project. And that way by having a vendor that understands all the industries and how they function and how they live in the same environment as everyone else, that gives you the competitive edge. Because when you are having these challenges, when you are proposing to look at new technology, they can advise you on how, if you adopt this type of technology and coordinating with construction people, how is that going to benefit the construction people? Because that also starts giving you the value add as an EPC company. Is that not that I can deliver a drawing to you or a deliverable that you can go and construct, but if I can start making life easier for the people that are constructing or for the structural engineer, everybody would prefer working with you as well. And those are the sort of small nuggets that companies need to consider.